So today we're going to talk about GDC.
Is that an STD? What?
Tell us why we're here, Rob.
Because I'm looking at your shirts and there are initials that say, I assume that's a G and a D and a C. So what does GDC stand for?
Good day coming?
It's a good one.
No, it stands for Game Developer Conference. I would like to explain what GDC, Game Developer Conference, is. It's a conference
For game developers. I got it.
Cut. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe.
Share.
So is it only game developers that are invited? Is it open to the public? Is there something I pay for to get in? What is this?
Okay.
Is it merch?
Okay. All these questions are fantastic questions. I will try to answer them in the allotted time given to us. Okay. GDC stands for Game Developer Conference. It is for those in the industry only. So people, it's not like PAX where. So
is it like E3 then? More like E3?
E3 has a section where the public can come in.
Oh, okay.
But GDC, E3 focuses on industry stuff, like all aspects of industry, art, marketing, business, things like that. GDC is more focused on the actual developers who are writing the code. A lot of presentations and roundtables and workshops on how to use Unreal Engine, which is behind a lot of games that we play, on Unity, which is a lot of games that we play, on Unity, Game Maker Studio, which is how Undertale's made. All of this, so it's a more technical conference, but there also are like producers and things like that. I ran into many a famous producer or executive or whatever.
That I'm sure you have plenty of pictures.
Oh, I took lots of pictures.
Slideshow. So, how did you get in?
So this is since I'm officially working in the industry, I've been friends with many a person in the industry. I've written articles for like game magazines and things like that. And I've been to E3 because at E3 you have to have some sort of business credential that has to do with the industry. And working at IBM technically...
I thought you were going to say working at Babbage's.
Nothing but Babbage's in here tonight. Bad bitches only.
I'm at the computer software headquarters. IBM made the processor for like the GameCube and a whole bunch of systems, so I could argue that, hey, and that's exactly what we did. We printed off, like, Fran and I did this, my wife and I did this, where we printed off articles of how IBM made the processor for like the GameCube, and they're like, come on in. We're like, yes. So you can kind of finagle your way. I've been to a few E3s, but GDC, like, I've wanted to go to GDC for like 20 years, and I've never got an opportunity to do it. And now that I'm officially in the industry, I'm able to go, and it was a magical time. Now, as you asked the question, merch, this is not like PAX where the general public is invited. It is strictly like developers. And it's also expensive. Like thousands of dollars expensive. So I can't just go in all willy-nilly. Like, you know, if you're going to go, you have a focus.
Wait, time out. What do you mean it's expensive? $1,000 expensive? Like a ticket
like
to
registration?
get...
So there's different tiers.
What are we talking about?
So there's different tiers of getting into GDC. And to figure it out, you almost need to have gone there to figure out what you need to buy and don't. Different ticket levels give you access to different things. So you could just get like a ticket to the expo, and that's like only $250. But that just lets you walk in the door and walk around. You can't really like go to any of the sessions or do the workshops or do any of the roundtables.
So this is more like Apple's WWDC, without the press part.
Think yes, the press, they're invited to, but think WWDC, think Google I/O, think those type of workshops, more developer focused, except this is more game developer focused.
So does this come out of your pocket, or does it come out of your company's pocket?
The company's.
So okay,
but I feel because it's an expensive trip, we have to like not go crazy. We have to
send everybody there.
We can't send everyone there. We can't go like there's a top tier ticket that literally is like $2,000 or $3,000, and that gets you into everything. And there were some things where I got there, it's like, I want to attend this. Oh, I'm sorry, sir, your badge doesn't work. I'm like, what do you mean my badge doesn't work?
Do you know how much I paid for this badge?
Well, yeah, that was my argument. I paid millions of dollars for this ticket. Well, you need to pay $1.5 million, and then you would have gotten to these early indie
that
sections.
Is expensive.
But it's expensive. But
like, is there a goodie bag they give you, like with Avon or something, like a gift bag?
No, your goodie bag is the fact that you got to learn about your industry. Now there is something you can add on to tickets, which is not cheap, called the GDC Vault, where anything that you miss is recorded so you can watch it later. So, and these, I mean, almost everything is recorded. So if I missed it in real life, which sometimes I did miss some things due to meetings talking about and that one meeting where I had to go. But behind that, I could just watch it on GDC.
I hate con crud.
My man.
I
did have hand sanitizer. I would shake people's hand. It was very good to meet you. Thank you for showing your game. And don't be offended by me doing that. It's like, no, I don't want any con cred. So yeah, you can watch things later. Some things they released for free. Like last year, they released a Zelda Breath of the Wild video for free and some other things. But to get everything, you add a level. And get
I have never heard of this convention or
really.
What? Yeah, never. Because game developing, that's not something I was ever into. So I can kind of see why you did. Because I see that's a dice, right? Like a 20-sided die, like a Dungeons and Dragons thing.
So it mainly focused on like actual video game development, but there are also like some guys that had booths set up for like tabletop games and things like that.
Yeah, but you could say that.
And then there's video
Star
games.
Trek cabinet game.
So okay, are these independent video games that are coming to show their games? Is it like people that are working on something and want to get funded?
Yes,
all the above.
And
so what were you there
So
to
mainly
do for
my
work?
focus was as a game designer and producer. I was learning about techniques that people use for their games that are out or coming out, and I was also looking at cool independent games that were coming out too. So I had to really balance my time. I was packed with things to do all day because it would be like a session at 2. Then I have a small break where I can go and run downstairs.
Where is
games.
this?
This is in San Francisco.
Okay.
And it is unlike other shows like PAX that are like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah.
This was, because it's a work thing, this is Monday through Friday. And the first couple of days are mainly focused on indie stuff. And then the rest of it is focused on like the other like big publishers.
Now, is it like workshops for like the software, like the engineer part, like these are the platforms you could work for,
so,
this is what our platform is good for, this is why you should use our platform to develop your game?
Yeah, so it's stuff like that and new features. Like while we were there, like I went to a session with Google where they announced like this new test drive initiative for games and stuff on the Google Play Store. Unity announced more compatibility, more cool special features, and they had some demo games that showed off how easy it is, how much cooler things can look on Unity, because a lot of developers are kind of snooty. They'll be like, oh, you made that in Unity? Or, wow, that looks really great, you made that in Unity? Type of mentality. And then Epic showed off more Unreal stuff, and as you might guess, because of Unreal and Epic, there's a lot of Fortnite stuff running around too. Yeah. So, and then Microsoft and Sony, their initiatives with indie games, and they're pushing their platform. So it was a lot of cool things like that. So your big producers were there. Nintendo did a Nintendo Direct while we were there on the show floor, featuring their nindies, including some independent games that I've seen and talked about before on previous episodes. It was really cool to see them like on an official Nintendo Direct after talking to the developers and hanging out with these guys.
Is this sort of like a networking, like where some game companies will come in and sort of scout producers or coders and all that stuff?
Yeah, so it's another really big like networking thing. I did a lot of talking to people. Again, I know some people just because I know people in the industry, like our dear friend Shane Benton.
Was he there?
Yes.
Oh, cool.
I saw Shane for one dinner because so I'm new to the industry and my schedule is pretty packed. He's a veteran. He didn't have like 2 minutes to go pee free type thing. And a lot of my friends were the same way, that they had some business to do, negotiations to talk to, licensees to deal with.
How does it feel like to be there now? Like, because, at one time you were... I'm trying to think of...
he was like the kid at the candy store looking in.
Yeah, you're looking in the window and you're like, I wish I was those guys. And now you're there, man. So it's like Gattaca.
I'm going to tell you something.
I can't believe I went with Gattaca.
Is that really the best one that you'd come up with?
It's an obscure movie. But now you're in there. So how does it feel?
Really cool.
You're like Charlie in the Chocolate Factory.
Except I'm in the Chocolate Factory.
Yeah, you're like Charlie and the entire Chocolate Factory. Good analogy.
So thank you, Dan.
That's what I'm here.
Analogy Dan.
In drinking stuff.
Hand crud. Okay. So, this weekend was freaking awesome that I had to do this, because a couple of days before there was a retreat where I could relax and get primed up and ready to go, and then jump into this thing, and it is exactly what you're talking about. So I took pictures like most people when they take pictures with people. It's like celebrities and whatever. Me, I found people like Ed Boon, creator of Mortal Kombat, and he's a really
Toasty.
Nice guy. That guy. That guy. So I saw him walking around, and I stopped him. I'm like, and inside of me, he's going, "Oh my God, it's Ed Boon! Oh my God!" And my cousin was making fun of me because I technically really don't like Mortal Kombat that much, except for Mortal Kombat 2.
Yeah,
and Injustice.
It ain't
2.
a fighting game unless a motherfucker's throwing a fireball screaming Hadouken. You know that. I wouldn't be able to recognize him because I'm used to seeing him as Noob Saibot as a shadow.
Right.
So I saw him from a distance.
Oh,
I was like,
say bud is Ed Boon's spelled backwards.
So I was like, Mr. Boone, very nice to meet you. Hello, he's a really freaking nice guy, right? Mm-hmm. Hand sanitizer. So this is me geeking out because I'm seeing people like him. I'm seeing.
But you still have to keep professional.
Oh, dude,
like
that's the thing. Because it sounds. Now, the most, oh my gosh, I think I was, is when I ran into the president of Sony. He attended, there was a session on Friday the 13th and how asymmetrical horror games work. And he was there. And because I know people in the gaming industry, I didn't say I chase him down, but I walked quickly in a stalker-esque manner to where he was.
In a Friday 13th manner.
Did you have the Legend of Zelda cartridge with you?
Shigeru Miyamoto wasn't there. And I stopped and talked to him, and a couple of people that I knew at Sony Beyond Shane that I talked to him about, and took a picture. He's a really nice guy.
That's my other question is, how do you separate the fanboy from the professional, Rob? Because it's like, can you ask for an autograph? Can you sign my PlayStation 4?
Okay, so for people like Yoshida-san, because he's the president of Sony, you don't really autograph things. But I went to a Splatoon thing where they talked about how the characters came to life, or an ARMS thing where characters came to life, or there's a Sonic event, etc., etc. Monster Hunter event. That was really cool. At the end of it, almost everyone came in with their copy of Sonic or their copy of Monster Hunter and asked the director, whoever was doing the talk, to sign it. Also, now, the biggest example of this, I believe, is Taro Yoko, the guy who did Nier and Nier Automata, which are some of the greatest games that you can get.
Oh, wow.
He came in and did a session where, and of course he had on the mask thing, the mask.
So moon guy.
Yeah, the moon dude. And this session, if you weren't there 30 minutes or an hour beforehand, you were not getting in. It was a big room, and it didn't matter. Everyone, all the nerds were in. Some were in cosplay. Most of the time, there's not cosplayers.
Did you bring your copy of Nier Automata?
Very, as a cosplayer, that doesn't seem too professional to
There was, I shouldn't say cosplay. How two dresses, or to-be dresses, that's what she had on, stuff like that. And she did have on the eye thing, but it's not that much cosplay.
Did you bring your copy? So that's my big question: is how would you fake being a professional dude and not a fan?
It doesn't matter. You're there, and these directors are there. And
so you knew ahead of time to bring your stuff, or you bought the shit over there?
You could have. I did not, because I'm not much of a signatures kind of guy, other than my Zelda, but I am a selfie kind of guy, right? So we went to this thing, and a super pack, he answers questions. He's like, hey, do you drink when you make your best writing? And he's basically like, yeah, some of my best stuff has come when I've been a little drunk. So afterwards, he walked out, and remember, he has on this, he can't really see very well, he has this thing, and it lines up to have everyone either take a selfie, which I was in the selfie line, or to have him
selfie line.
Yeah, there's that's
awesome.
There's a picture line, and then there's a sign stuff line.
Yeah.
So the sign stuff line was, I'd say there's at least 100 people on both lines to do this. So
awesome.
I was real quick, took my picture, and ran out the door. And then everyone else can you sign on your tongue or whatever? They say something or whatever. Or some people had art that they had created and had him sign that. Mm-hmm. But they're absolutely, even though these folks are in the industry, such
they're
as myself.
Fans
we're
first.
Absolutely fans of what we're doing.
Well, of course. Yeah. A lot of the people are in our near mint condition age grew up with some of these guys making the video games, so it's okay to lose your shit when you see somebody, that you're like, I played your game and you're the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing. You're the reason why I only eat ramen noodles because they don't pay much for what I do.
In addition to things that are more modern, like Monster Hunter World, Splatoon, and Nier Automata and such, there are also things called post-mortems where they talk about old games. So there was one on Sonic the Hedgehog, and people were in some of the guys who did the art, not Yuji Naka, but some of the guys who did the art for Sonic, drew it, answered questions about it. So came up with how Sonic came to be what he was, why they chose him to be a hedgehog, and of course at the end people were signing things. Another cool story was, you remember the game Primal Rage, yes?
Oh yeah,
the dinosaur
fighting dinosaurs.
Fighting dinosaurs, right? Yeah. So the guy who was up there, he was a director for Primal Rage 2 at Atari Games, and that game was canceled. He was talking about how difficult it was to deal with that. But I don't know if you remember, last year, people found the ROMs, and it went to that Galloping Ghost arcade,
in Chicago?
In Chicago, yeah. Where we've been trying to get to that arcade a few times.
Actually, I'm going there next Friday.
Are you really?
Yeah.
Go and take pictures of Primal Rage 2. So the guy's talking about this, yeah, man, this is great. I went to Twin Galaxies Arcade and Galloping Ghost, and they have my picture next to Ed Boon. Now, I don't know if the guy knew. I had already talked to him. Ed Boon was sitting in this dude's session right in front of me. So we were like Ed Boon appears on the screen, and I'm like, Ed, that's you. And he's like, I know, right? I'm like, oh. And then fanboy me starts going, oh my God, I'm having funny banter with Ed Boon.
How did you not have a meltdown?
Dude, it was like, so as I was saying, it was really cool to go to the sessions talking about game design, how they and why they made the choices that they did. The post-mortems talking about games from the past that we played and enjoyed. Then there are things like roundtables where, as a black man in the industry, there weren't a lot of black people running around, but there were a lot more than I suspected. So there were a couple of sessions. There was one session that was thrown by Microsoft where, like, you know, we all gathered together and we like talked about stuff. And Phil Spencer, the guy who runs Xbox, was there, so I got a chance to talk to Mr. Spencer. Saying, "Mr. appreciate what you do for Xbox and blah blah blah." And we were talking about hand sanitizer, and we were talking about how, like, you know, in the industry we need to reach out and be community and be aware of like things we've talked about on this podcast, black characters
YouTube
and
channel. That's okay.
Yeah. Characters and persons of color in games and things like that. And there's another session that Electronic Arts and PlayStation put together where they had a roundtable of executives who've been in the industry for 20 and 30 years, names that we didn't know but who have been there doing stuff all this time. It's like, it was really cool to see, like, you know, person of color representation.
So was there a big indie scene, like a lot of independent games wanting to be picked up?
So, yes, there's a decent... Also, actually, there was a huge indie scene. I should have stayed an extra 2 days for playing all these independent games, because there was something called the Indie Mega Booth, and then there's the IGF Festival, and then there's a huge section down in the main floor area of all these independent games. One of the independent indie game Mega Booth, like, it was an entire bar that they had rented out, and was, I'd say, 100 TV screens and games and developers going in, showing off their games. And I saw some fantastic games that reminded me of, like, old school shooters like Midnight Resistance, Contra 3, Gunstar Heroes.
That's what's up.
Or the game I've talked about on the show before, The Messenger, which is the Ninja Gaiden-like game. Mm-hmm. Some really creepy crawly games, some cool point-and-click adventures. It was amazing, like, to have these events. Game Over Greg, if you know who that is, he was there at some of these events. It was really neat to see, like, all these indie games. And then the next day there's like Day of Devs, where, do you know the game Army of Two, where it's always
limited run that no they didn't.
They didn't. There's another game I call, the name's escaping me, but it was someone had taken an actual figure and stop motioned it, and the whole game was this stop motion figure
of Army of Two.
No, this is a different game.
Oh, sorry.
But different type of concept. There's some different types of all these independent games, and it was really cool to be able to, like, not just play the games, but actually talk to these people. These people are just like us. They have families, they might have kids, they code on the weekends, they code on their other jobs, and there's a lot of cool ideas that are going to be coming down the pipeline that we're going to be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe, like, you know, 2 or 3 people came up with this game. Mm-hmm. And those guys are looking for publishers or advice or what have you. So it was cool interfacing with them. And the final part about GDC is also fun. It's the after party. So, again, this is my first time.
So it's like Toy Fair.
It's like everything. Even, like, when I went to, like, IT conferences, it was still, like, you know...
This is like Omar's, like, bar story with the comic creators?
Yes, except these are with, like, you know, these
game devs.
These game devs.
That's cool, man. So, yeah, the after party's where it's at.
So, you know, so some of these after parties...
Nobody remembers anything the next day. No. Remember me? We drank together?
Yeah.
Fuck out of my booth,
I ran into, like, you know, as I talked about the president of indie games at Microsoft, like I already told you about the Sony guys and the PlayStation guys, some Nintendo guys. I ran into those guys, like, oh my god, I'm trying to keep it cool. You're the director. I've seen you before. You're the director. Nice to meet you. So the after parties were really cool that we could, like, you know, have drinks with these guys, network. This is something that you had said. Network these guys, give out business cards, just talk about games, like, because generally all of us are in similar age. There were some students there. It was just good to be able to get out with people who are like-minded, who have taken a bath, and enjoyed, like, you know, working in the industry, and we're doing, like, arts for students and things like that. So that, in a nutshell, is GDC. And there's one lesson I would like to have told myself previously. Bring more business cards. Because I brought, like, this many, and they were gone in, like, a day. So, bring more business. That's GDC. So for almost 30 years, your favorite developers have been gathering to create the game content that we love. So we gave you a little glimpse of that today. Please like, subscribe, share, tell me something that you learned, and I'll see you at the next conference, you big nerd with me!
Figures.
Oh, I thought you just
it's the
fingers.
Same character.
No, that's your dirty ass mind.
All
right, let's do it. Rob, focus. 3 fingers deep.
Three fingers
Three figures.
Three fingers deep.
That's Tina's
that's the name of your YouTube channel. 3 fingers deep.
Hugely, bigly. I have the worst phrasing. Okay.